introduction. I realize that you put a stand here for people who are a bit vertically challenged, but I don't think I will need that. Honorable Muntaka Mubarak, Minister for Interior, representing the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, Excellency Bernice Owen Jones, Australian High Commissioner to Ghana with non-resident accreditation to Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Guinea, Liberia, Mali, Senegal, Sierra Leone, and Togo. His Excellency Mohamed Kassamba, High Commissioner of the Republic of Sierra Leone to Ghana, His Excellency Musu Jato Rule, Ambassador of the Republic of Liberia to Ghana, Stephanie Corpus Campbell, Australian Ambassador for Gender Equality, not in person, a video message will be played. Ambassador Medina Wase, former Secretary General Mano River Union, Minister of State, President, Minister of State, Honorable Dr. Children and Social Protection, Honorable Dr. Justice Professor Supreme Court Judge, Republic of Ghana, representing the Chief of Defense Staff, Peacekeeping Training Center to warmly welcome Your Excellencies and very important personalities on a critical issue that is central to the pursuit of sustainable peace in West Africa, that is, amplifying women's voices in democratic and political transitions. As we gather here today, we are confronted with the stark reality that women continue to be marginalized and underrepresented in decision-making processes across the region. Despite significant strides in promoting gender equality and women's empowerment, women remain significantly underrepresented in political and governance structures, particularly in conflict-affected and post-conflict societies. This lack of representation not only undermines the fundamental principles of democracy and equality, but also impedes the effectiveness of peace building and conflict resolution efforts. Women bring unique perspective, experiences, and skills to the table that are essential for addressing the root causes of conflict, promoting reconciliation, and building sustainable peace. Research has shown that when women are involved in peace processes, the resulting agreements are more inclusive, durable, and effective. Women are more likely to prioritize social issues such as education, healthcare, and economic development, which are essential for building resilient and prosperous societies. Therefore, it is imperative that we prioritize the amplifications of women's voices in democratic and political transitions to ensure that their perspectives are heard, their experiences are valued, and their contributions are recognized. This requires proactive measures to eliminate barriers to women's participation in decision-making processes, including legal and institutional reforms, capacity-building initiatives, and targeted support for women leaders. At the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, we are committed to advancing gender equality, women empowerment, and the meaningful participation of women in peace and security efforts, and the meaningful participation of women in peace and security efforts. Through our training programs, research initiatives, and policy advocacy, we strive to equip women with the knowledge, skills, and networks they need to engage effectively in democratic and political transitions. As we look towards the future, let us recommit ourselves to amplifying women's voices in democratic and political transitions to build sustainable peace in West Africa. Let us work together to create a more just, inclusive, and peaceful society where women are empowered to shape their own destinies and contribute to a better future for all. Once again, welcome to the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. I wish us all a fruitful and impactful engagement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commodore. Well, it is now my honor to invite to the podium Her Excellency Bernice Owen-Jones, Australian High Commissioner to Ghana with non-resident accreditation to 8 other countries in the region, including Liberia and Sierra Leone. A round of applause, please.
Honourable Ministers, Excellencies, members of the Diplomatic Corps, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. As Australia's High Commissioner to Ghana and accredited to a number of countries in the region, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our 2025 Conflict Prevention and Sustainable Peace Forum. I'm honoured to be joined by leaders in the peace and security arena today. Our MC has already mentioned our lineup of influential guests, but I'd like to make a special mention of our keynote speaker and representative of President Mahama, the Honourable Mubarak Mohamed Muntaka, Ghana's Minister of the Interior. I would also like to thank our guests who have flown from Liberia and Sierra Leone to be here today, the Honourable Manti Tahawali, Minister of State at the Office of the Vice President in Sierra Leone, and Ambassador Medina Wase from Liberia, who is the former Secretary General of the Mano River Union. I would also like to thank our guests from Ghana who have made time in their busy schedules to join us, particularly Her Ladyship Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bosu, a current Supreme Court judge here in Ghana. It's been a pleasure to work on this event with our colleagues from the High Commission of Sierra Leone and the Embassy of Liberia, and to collaborate with 2 regional civil society organizations doing important work in the sub-region, WANEP and WADEMOS. My thanks also to the Acting Commandant and KIPTC for hosting us today. Preventing a conflict and sustaining peace has never been more important. We know that this doesn't happen on its own. All of us help make it happen. Australia is doing this by being active, by exercising agency, and by contributing our efforts to the balance of power in our own region and in our world. Our candidacy for a non-permanent seat on the Security Council for the term 2029-2030 reflects a deep commitment to contributing to international peace and security. Australia wants greater permanent and non-permanent representation for Africa, Latin America and the Caribbean, and the Asia Pacific. The body must represent the world as it is in the 21st century. We must also reform the peace-building and conflict prevention architecture so it works a lot better for us. That will be the focus of Australia's current term on the Peace-Building Commission. Australia will support national prevention strategies during our term, essential for local peace building. And we will increase our voluntary contribution to the UN Peacebuilding Fund to 15 million per year. We are committed to doing all we can, more broadly, to doing all we can to de-escalate and prevent conflict. To this end, Australia has recently convened a group of ministers to pursue a new declaration for the protection of humanitarian personnel. The declaration will be developed over the coming months to demonstrate the unity of the international community's commitment to protect aid workers and to channel that commitment into action in Gaza, in Sudan, in Ukraine, and in all current and future conflicts. All countries will be invited to join the declaration, and the humanitarian leaders who have partnered with us on this important initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, for peace to be truly durable, it must be built by and for all of society. That includes women. Gender equality is a primary predictor of peace, as we've just heard, even more so than a state's wealth or political system. That is why Australia champions the Women, Peace and Security agenda. And I'm delighted that today we will hear from Australia's Ambassador for Women and Girls, who is working to promote Australia's leadership in gender equality across our diplomatic development and regional security efforts. And of course, I look forward to hearing from our panel of high-level female leaders who will speak from their lived experience about the importance of women's voices in democratic and political transitions. I'm also pleased to see strong representation from civil society, alongside the role of politicians, security services, and government officials. Civil society organizations have a significant impact on peace and security. In fact, I too understand that the participation of civil society groups, including women and girls, the human rights organizations, make a peace agreement 64% less likely to fail. Whether you are a government official, diplomat, police officer, member of the military, government official, or civil society member, all of us have a role to play in supporting sustainable peace and preventing conflict, the theme of this conference. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Excellency. I now have the pleasure of inviting His Excellency Mohamed Hassan Kaisamba, High Commissioner of the Republic of Sierra Leone, to Ghana to deliver his statement.
Should I elevate my height? It is a beautiful morning, isn't it? Seeing all these beautiful women of substances are all gathered here, the brainers of the future. Honorable Minister, Your Excellency, my dear sister, colleague, the Australian High Commissioner, esteemed ambassadors and diplomats, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on existing protocol. I stand before you with deep humility and pride, not only as a representative of the people of Sierra Leone, but as a witness to the extraordinary resilience of nature that has turned the page of conflict and is now writing a new chapter of peace. I commend my dear dear sister from the Australia High Commission for hosting this vital role and for choosing Ghana, a nation whose democratic stability continues to be a pillar of hope and a blueprint for the continent. To the people of Ghana, I must say this. Your most recent peaceful transition of power did more than affirm your democracy. It inspired a continent. It reminded us that democracy in Africa is not a dream deferred. It is a daily practice, shaped by strong institutions, courageous leaders, and a citizen unwilling to settle for less. Today, the theme of this forum, conflict prevention and sustainable peace, with a focus on amplifying women's voices in democratic and political transition. I repeat, this is a very wonderful theme, with a focus on amplifying women's voices in democratic and transition. Could not be more urgent or more personal. I bring with me a story from Sierra Leone. It's not only a story of war, but of willpower. Not a story of destruction, but of determination. For over a decade, Sierra Leone was engulfed by a brutal civil war. But long before peace was signed in boardrooms, it was whispered and woven in markets, in homes, in quiet corners of broken villages by women. Women were not perceived victims of war. They were peacemakers in the shadows, crossing battle lines with nothing but white cloth and faith. They buried the dead, healed the wounded, and broken ceasefires when the world had stopped listening. The courage did not wear medals. They did not just wear medals, but it moves mountains. And when the guns finally fell silent, it was these women who stood at the forefront of rebuilding our nation. They were the architects of peace. We enshrined their voices in our Truth and Reconciliation Commission. We embedded gender equity in our government structure. We passed laws that opened doors, not out of charity, but out of necessity, because we learned something crucial. No peace is sustainable if half the population is silent. This message I bring you today. Peace is not merely the absence of war, it is the presence of justice. And justice, of course, we all know, is incomplete without gender inclusion. So, ladies and gentlemen, but I must ask all of us with urgency, are we truly listening to the women of the earth of our nations? Are we investing in their ideas, resourcing their leaderships, embedding their knowledge in the architecture of our peace and security? Or we are still asking them to validate decisions made in rooms they were never invited into? Please, symbolism is not enough. It's never been. So we must go further to make this provision for our beautiful, wonderful women. We must create regional framework that place women in our margins, but at the center, as designers, as decision makers, as defenders of peace. We must finance women-led grassroots organizations that know the terrain better than any consulting or consultant ever will. We must reform our political system to make room not just for women's presence, but for their power. I must say this, please. Let us build bridges in our nations. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Liberia, Guinea, Nigeria, and beyond, where the wisdom of our mothers, our sisters, and our daughter is not just heard, but yielded. To our host, the Australian High Commission, thank you. Your investment in inclusive peace building is not only generous, but it is visionary. I repeat, it is visionary. This is a wonderful investment in peace building, including the women. You are helping us from the rhetoric to inclusion to the reality of transformation. And we hope others in the international community will follow your example. I close with the voice of a woman I met in Sierra Leone during the Truth and Reconciliation process. She has lost her family, her home, her future, but not their hope. She told us with quiet deviance, peace will not come because we cry for it. It will come because we built it with our hands and words and our daughters. So ladies and gentlemen, let us build the peace together. Let us ensure that this generation of African girls do not inherit silence, but strength. Let them look up the skies and see open skies. Thank you. May the peace and justice guide every step we take. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency. Next, please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Musu Jatoru, Ambassador of the Republic of Liberia to Ghana, to share her statement.
Thank you very much for pronouncing my last name correctly. Many people call me Ruli, but it's actually Ru. I would like to stand on existing protocol. It is a profound honor to join you at this timely forum, a forum that seeks not only to reflect but to act, not only to listen but to amplify. My sincere appreciation to the High Commissioner, Her Excellency Bernice Owen Jones, and the Australian High Commission for convening this important dialogue and creating the platform to elevate women's voices in governance and political transitions. At a time when democratic backsliding and protracted conflicts threaten peace, West Africa stands at a fragile crossroads. Yet, women across our region, whether in villages or foreign ministries, on front line or in parliament, continue to demonstrate resilience, wisdom, and leadership. The question, therefore, is not whether women should lead, but how our system can make space to learn from and be transformed by that leadership. First, we must look beyond visibility Yes, women are more present in peace processes and frameworks, but too often this presence is symbolic, more about appearances than influence. Representation alone is not transformation. We must ask whose voices are heard and whose remain silent. Are we changing the power structure or just decorating them? In Liberia, we are proud to have elected the first female president, Her Excellency Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. But symbolic milestones are not replacement for the needed reforms. True empowerment demands structural change in political parties, electoral financings, customary law, and transitional justice. Second, let us acknowledge that political transitions are rarely linear. They are complex, unpredictable, and often negotiated behind closed doors. And when decisions are made in such spaces, women are frequently not invited. This is why we must expand our understanding of peace and security. Peace is not merely the absence of war, like my brother said. It is a presence of justice and dignity. And security must mean that women live free from fear, exclusion, and economic disadvantages. Third, amplifying women's voices must go beyond symbolic actions. It means replacing women in decision-making roles and ensuring their experiences shape national policy. In Liberia, women-led grassroots peace initiatives played a major role in bringing an end to the 14 years of civil conflict and the post-war recovery. Yet, many of these women remain excluded from formal political structure. This gap must be closed. We need more than declarations. We need resources, training, leadership, both male and female committed to equality and gender-responsive policies. Finally, we must practice radical inclusion, bring in not only educated women or women in leadership roles, but also women in marketplaces, refugee camps, and informal settlements. These women are carrying the heaviest burden and often hold the deepest insights. Liberia is currently campaigning for a non-permanent seat on the UN Security Council. We will utilize the platform to champion inclusive peace and gender-responsive leadership through our proposed feminist foreign policy. Peace cannot last unless women are centered to it. Democracy cannot survive unless women have an equal say. And security will not be complete until every woman, wherever she is, feels safe, heard, and respected. Let us not just invite women to the table. Let us transform the table. Thank you.
I'd like to say a big thank you to our envoys for their messages. We now turn attention to our keynote address. And I must say we are very honored to welcome the Honorable Muntaka Mubarak Mohammed, Minister for the Interior. Honorable Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Her Excellency, the Australian High Commissioner to Ghana, permit me to stand on the existing protocol so that we can make some time. Let me say good morning to all of you once again. On behalf of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to the Australian High Commission and the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center for collaborating on this timely and critical program. This forum reflects the shared commitment of Ghana and our international partners to promoting peace, stability, and inclusive governance in West Africa. It provides an opportunity to interrogate not only our regional peace and security architecture, but also to emphasize the often overlooked role of women as active agents in conflict prevention and democratic consideration. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, West Africa is a region of enormous promise, abundant natural resources, resilient communities, and growing democratic institutions. Yet it continues to grapple with complex security challenges. These include violent extremism in the Sahel, insurgency and terrorism in Nigeria, piracy in the Gulf of Guinea, and climate-induced conflict and socio-political unrest. The impact has been profound: displacement, loss of livelihood, destruction of infrastructure, and erosion of trust in the state institutions. In recent times, developments such as political instability, sociocultural tensions, and the growing presence of transnational organized crime have posed significant challenges to the democratic and security gains achieved across the region. Ghana remains deeply committed to democracy, peace, and the rule of law. Our political history has not been without setback, including 4 military interventions. However, we have transitioned into a stable democratic state that upholds constitutional governance. Ladies and gentlemen, in addressing conflict, we have shifted from reactive approach to preventive posture. The Ministry of Interior, working closely with the National Peace Council, is actively engaging communities to de-escalate tension in over 300 identified potential hotspots. We believe that peace is not merely the absence of war, just as many have said before. It is the presence of justice, inclusive governance, and respect for human dignity. Conflict in West Africa is driven by interlinked factors such as poor governance and weak state institutions, ethnic and cultural and religious intolerance, youth unemployment and economic exclusion, resource competition, environmental stress, as well as proliferation of small arms and external destabilization influences. Addressing this root cause requires holistic, sustained, and inclusive approach that brings states and non-state actors to the table. We must strengthen early warning systems, invest in reconciliation mechanisms, and build resilient institutions that deliver justice and opportunity. Your Excellencies, one of the most urgent tasks before us is to amplify women's voice in the space of peace building, governance, and democratic transitions. Women are not just victims of conflict. They are peace builders, mediators, community leaders, and agents of change. Across West Africa, women have mobilized for disarmament and ceasefires, as seen in Liberia, as mentioned earlier, in Sierra Leone, and led grassroots peace dialogue and community healing processes, pushed for gender-inclusive legislation and early warning system, and advocated for accountability and transitional justice. Despite this contribution, women remain underrepresented in formal peace negotiation, security institutions, and political decision-making. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana has taken progressive steps to promote women's leadership in peace and democratic governance by appointing Ghana's first female vice president in 2025, 3 female chief justices, and 2 female electoral commission chairs over the past 2 decades. In 2024, Ghana also passed the Affirmative Action, Gender Equality Act in 2024, mandating a minimum 40% female representation in public appointments. Cabinet has also ordered the validation of a new draft national agenda policy to replace the one prepared in 2015 to better align with contemporary peace and security dynamics. In addition, through our partners, we developed and implemented the Ghana National Action Plan on the UNSCR 1325 to institutionalize women's role in peace, processes at national and community levels. My understanding is that the document is under review after implementation over the last 5 years. These efforts reflect our belief that women must not only be at the table, they must be part of the head of the table when decisions about peace and governance are made. To ensure conflict prevention and sustainable peace in West Africa, we must act decisively on the following: institutionalize women's leadership in peace architecture, at the national level, regional, and local. Invest in education, youth employment, and equitable economic development to tackle grievances and exclusion. Strengthen regional collaboration through ECOWAS protocols and joint security operations. Enhance digital literacy and counter disinformation, which often fuel political and ethnic tensions. Promote inclusive dialogue and participatory governance, particularly in fragile and transitional contexts. Prioritize early warning and rapid response mechanism driven by civil society and women's groups. Ladies and gentlemen, conflict prevention is not passive, it is proactive. It requires vision, unity, and courage. We must be bold enough to act before crisis erupts. Let us honor the memory of those who have suffered by preventing future tragedies. Let us commit, government, civil society, development partners, and most importantly, women and youth, to build a region where peace is not fragile but firm, where democracy is not cosmetic but credible, and where every voice is heard and valued. Let us not wait for the next crisis to ask what more we could we have done. Let us act now with resolve, unity, and a shared vision for peace in West Africa. I want to thank all of you for this audience. May God continue to bless our sub-region and bless our country. Thank you very much.
Many thanks, Honorable Minister, and I do know that you have to take leave of us at this point. And so the Honorable Minister will be taking leave of us now. As he goes, we will have a few people join him outside the auditorium for a quick group photo. Shall we be upstanding as they take leave of us now? The Honorable Muntaka Mubarak will be joined by Her Excellency Bernice Owen-Jones, His Excellency Mohamed Hassan Kaisamba, Her Excellency Musuja Toru, Ambassador Medina Wesa, Ms. Penny Dennis, Manti Terawali, Honorable Dr. Agnes Namomulate, Her Ladyship Justice Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu, COP Dr. Shaibu Pabi Gariba, who is a representative of the Inspector General of Police here, Major General Lawrence Kwekubetenu, Chief of Army Staff, Commodore Faustina Anoche, representative of the Chief of Naval Staff, Air Commodore Ajo Jage, representative of the Chief of Air Staff, Mrs. Lavinia Dai-Mensah, Executive Director for the West African Network for Peace Building, Amelia Edwards, Second Secretary for the Australian High Commission, as well as Lakeisha Finn, First Secretary and Consul. Please join the Minister outside for a quick group photo. Thank you very much. As they head out now, we make a quick transition to our policy roundtable. And our policy roundtable this morning is going to focus on strengthening regional mechanisms for conflict prevention and stability. Please take your seats. Thank you. Now, our speakers for this policy roundtable bring very, very unique insights and decades of experience from across West Africa. But before I introduce them, shall we, with a round of applause, welcome our moderator for this session in the person of Kemini Amano from TV3. Allow me now to introduce our panelists for this session. Our first panelist will be Dr. Festus Kofi Obin, Regional Coordinator, Research and Capacity Building for the West Africa Network for Peace Building. Janet Adama Mohammed is the West Africa Program Director for Conciliation Resources. She also joins us for this policy roundtable. Mutaru Mumuni Mukhtar, the Executive Director for the West Africa Center for Counter-Extremism, also joins us. And we will also have Vera Bediako, Chief Program Officer for the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection for the Republic of Ghana. Now, as mentioned earlier, this session is actually being moderated by TV3 journalist Kemini Amano, and TV3 are proud partners of this event. Kemini, over to you.
Thank you, KKB. Good morning once again, all protocol duly observed. This roundtable over the next 45 minutes will unpack where the region stands, what mechanisms are working, what bold steps are needed to prevent instability and conflict before it even erupts. And so let's get right into the conversation. Janet, I'll start with you. Thanks to your extensive knowledge across the sub-region, let's start with where we are now today. What will be your analysis of the state of peace and security across the sub-region?
Thank you very much.
I think we should hear you now.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Amabli, for this opportunity, and thank the organizers for the opportunity to be here. My fellow panelists, I think that West Africa is at a critical state of its peace and security. I'm saying it's critical because there are a number of issues, insecurity, instability issues in the sub-region that we have not yet tackled. And also that we don't have the right strategy to tackle. We are still looking for the strategies of dealing with these insecurities and instability issues. So I will say that at the moment in West Africa, there are several issues, and there are very limited strategies of dealing with them.
What are some of the issues you'd say?
The insurgency in the Sahel, the split between the AES and ECOWAS. We also have the insecurity that is ongoing in Nigeria. If you look at Nigeria, there is insecurity in almost all the regions of Nigeria, be it the northeast, the northwest, the north central, the south-south, the southeast, the southwest. Each of the regions have insecurity issues. And let's not belabor this. Nigeria is one of the biggest countries in West Africa. And so if they are struggling, it means the whole region is also struggling. The situation in the Sahel region also has its own impact on the rest of the region, especially the coastal areas as we see today. So these are some of the critical issues. Political transitions are still not being organized well, and so these are some of the other issues that we need to look at. The influx of young people, the growing disenfranchised young people in our region is also